Concluding Chapter 4 of Part 3. At the conclusion of the discourse, he directed Simon to launch out into a deeper place in the lake and let down his net for fish, for Jesus would not use any man's time or boat without rewarding him. Simon told him that all night they had toiled and no fish had been caught. And there was something so commanding and inspiring in the words of Jesus that Simon immediately added, "Nevertheless, at thy word, I will let down the net." So he called his brother Andrew, and the net was lowered. And so great was the number of the fish enclosed that the net began to break, and they called for their partners, James and John, the two sons of Zebedee, to come and help them. So great was the haul that both ships came near sinking with the weight. When Simon Peter saw this wonder, he fell at the feet of Jesus with mingled adoration and supplication. It doesn't say that he supplicated to Jesus, though. Supplicated as in prayer, that sort of thing. The rapidity of discernment and depth of feeling, which we shall find to be characteristic of this energetic man, came out in this passage. There was some power in this new teacher which was not human. Peter believed it to be divine. So if he was omniwall, then he wouldn't have been a deity. He would have been a communicator for the sake of the divinity, somebody who perhaps shows signs to the people for divinity, but certainly not a god, right? He was a rough, profane man, but he had that sense of contrast between purity and sinfulness, which is not the mark of a degraded mind, but rather of a spirit that has not lost its moral sensitiveness. And because, you see some of what the Bible claims is that this Jesus character didn't do it for his name. He didn't do it for his own name. So if he was working his own power and wanted known as a god, do you think he would have, done differently than that? My Lord, be pleased to leave my ship, for I am not saintly enough to endure thine august presence of holy power. That seemed to be the tenor of his address. Be not afraid, said Jesus, for from this time thou shalt catch men. A call to discipleship had already been made, after which Peter had gone home to his work. Now Jesus gave him a deeper intimation of his intention to attach him strongly to his service, and gives an increase to his faith by the great wonder he beheld, and exhilarates him by a figure taken from his own pursuits. If to bring so great a haul of fish to land be joy, what rapture must it be to catch men? Hereafter emperors and kings and queens and philosophers and scholars and poets and merchant princes shall be in the net which these simple Galilean fishermen were to let down, remembering the tumbly, into the deep waters at the lake of human life. So they brought their fish to land, drew up their boats upon the shore, and abandoned boats and nets, that they might follow this wonderful being. Going along the shore, they found their partners, James and John, the sons of Zebedee, who, while this profound conversation was going on between Jesus and Simon and Andrew, had betaken themselves to repairing their own nets. It would seem that when they were called by Simon and Andrew to render help, they had put their own net under the overburdened net of their partners to prevent the escape of the fish and the increase of the rent, and that thus their own net had become damaged. The invitation he had given Simon and Andrew, Jesus extended to James and John, and they left the implements of their business with their father and the servants and obeyed the call to a higher work.